everyone, and welcome to the new Downtime Guys video with me, JD, and special guest Ieu. Today we're going to talk about some World Cup fixtures, some results, and who we think is going to win overall. So the World Cup kicked off on Thursday with Brazil, the hosts, against Croatia, and I think everyone was looking forward to seeing how they'd play in front of their home crowd, and whether Croatia could put up a fight and even get the result. Maybe a win for Croatia as well, but it didn't turn out that way. It turned out with a 3-1 win for Brazil. So, did you watch that game, Ieu?
Yeah, I did. I was eagerly anticipating the game. All the build-up that there's been and all the talk that perhaps things weren't going to be ready in time. But I was very excited about the game. I didn't really see Croatia taking anything from it, really. Brazil being the hosts, they've got a pretty strong team. It was a bit controversial in the end, the way they won it with that penalty. But I did feel that despite Croatia having a pretty good start to the game, I felt that they were starting to fade towards the 60th minute or so. I just felt that they didn't have enough in their tank to win it, and I felt that Brazil probably on the balance of it were the deserved winners of that.
Yeah, you can see from the off, the Brazilians were playing with a lot of energy and a lot of passion. It just from the the initial anthems at the start, the Brazil players were all belting out the anthem, and you could see they were well up for it, and they felt like this is really their year where they could win the World Cup again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought Oscar was fantastic for them. He was just all over the place and creating so much, and he deserved that goal at the end.
Yeah, but he did very well. And like you said, with the energy of Oscar, I thought Marcelo was very good as well. I thought, you see, playing left back is a strange position because it's hard to lead the team from left back because you're not really centred to the pitch and you can't really control the game. But I thought he was very he's very tenacious and worked really hard and didn't want to lose any possession. And I was very impressed with him as well as a defensive player.
Absolutely. Based on that performance, though, I don't think Brazil are going to win the World Cup. But then again, it's the first game, it's early days. They could be just warming up, building up to the climax. But I feel like there have been better teams so far in the competition. Of course, the Netherlands being one of them, with a fantastic result the day after, on the second day of the World Cup, against Spain. Who saw that coming? 5-1 to Holland.
Yeah, I think everyone thought the Spain have been so strong. They've won the World Cup, they've won the Euros. They've been the team to beat this past decade. You could even say it's been so long since Spain have been dominating on the international scene. And although they weren't favourites, because I think the South American teams, Brazil and Argentina, were favourites before we started, everyone still thought they'd do really well and perhaps coast through that group. But fair play to the Netherlands. They played their own brand of football. They didn't just try and shut up shop against Spain and ended up scoring 5 goals again.
I know, I just couldn't believe it. I was just watching it with my mouth open because I couldn't believe that someone had scored that many goals against Spain. But I suppose that Spanish way of playing, the tiki-taka way, I love it. I know some people don't like it. They think it's boring. But I think Spain have become a bit predictable, to be honest.
Yeah. They were missing the striker. I think Diego Costa, in the Spanish league has been prolific this season, and now he's been linked with Chelsea and probably end up going there.
I think he's gone now, hasn't he?
As it's been confirmed now. I know he had a medical, but I wasn't sure if the deal had gone through.
I'll check out while you carry on.
Yeah, but he's never impressed me. I watched the Champions League final and he went off injured, so I didn't really get to see much of him, but I thought he kept losing possession, and maybe in Spain, where the style isn't as physical, that he can bully some of the maybe weaker physically centre-backs. But I think there's such a variety of European and South American players in the World Cup that, I don't know, he seemed to struggle against the Netherlands defence. Ron Vlaar was very physical, and I thought he was really good that night as well, in the heart of the defence. And, I mean, the players around you can be really good and contribute to the goals, but Spain need a good striker. Torres hasn't been himself for the past 5 seasons.
No, absolutely. I think when they brought Torres on, it seemed like a bit of a sign of desperation, to be honest. There was no chance they were going to get anything back bringing Torres on. And that we scuffed that chance that he had. That just summed up his past 5 seasons. But the Dutch team were so strong, and they went out to attack. And they're great attacking players in Ian Robben, Van Persie, what a header from Van Persie, Schneider, etc. And it was good as well to see Jonathan de Guzman making a start of Swansea, and see Michel Vorm in the squad.
Yeah, I gotta say, even though I'm a Swansea fan, I don't think de Guzman put his stamp in the game in any way. I can't remember one sort of good moment from him, and he did get subbed. But I just hope he gets another chance to prove, the quality he's got.
Yeah, he's definitely improved in the last sort of season with Swansea, and I feel he's got something to give to the Netherlands if he gets another start. So fingers crossed for him, he'll do well and impress.
Yeah.
And then the other game that day was Chile-Australia. Chile winning 3-1. Not a huge surprise to me, to be honest. What did you think?
Yeah, and a lot of people have Chile as the dark horse of that group because, like I said earlier about Brazil and Argentina being South American teams, it's the same with Chile. They're used to the climate and the humidity and the heat. So they're a dark horse in that group. And 3-1 on paper, that's quite a comprehensive win. But I know Australia played well and had a good few chances. You're never really going to think that Australia are going to make it out of that group. That's a really tough group. But as it stands now, you could see the Netherlands and Chile going through if Spain continue to play the way they've been playing.
Yeah, that would be quite a shock, wouldn't it? It would be quite exciting for neutrals to see a team like Chile get that far.
Yeah. So moving on to the third game in that day, we had Mexico-Cameroon.
Yeah.
So I quite like watching these African teams. Cameroon, Ghana, Ivory Coast, because they're always very physical, very athletic, and it's an exciting game normally end to end. They're not teams that just try and keep all the possession for the sake of it to wear the opponents down. They'd rather wear the opponents down by running at them all day. And then you've got Mexico, which physically aren't very strong, but then they are very quick and good dribblers. So it was a decent game, and Mexico ended up winning 1-0. But I think Cameroon have got a lot more to give. And Samuel Eto'o, their star player, he's still got some left in the tank. I think he'll bang in a few from before the end of the group stages.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't see this game. I've only seen the highlights, but I've never been impressed with Mexico, to be honest, because they got some players with a bit of skill, but they don't really seem to gel that well for me. And I'm hoping to see the Cameroon showing what they can do. As you say, they're a good physical team. They play with their hearts on their sleeves. So I fancy that the Cameroon will get a surprise result somewhere along the way in the World Cup.
Yeah, so obviously they're in the same group as Brazil and Croatia. You wouldn't really bet against Brazil at this stage, getting out of that group. So what would your third pick be, Mexico, Cameroon, or Croatia?
That's a good question. I'd say Croatia, to be honest.
Yeah.
They're the team which impressed me most, apart from Brazil in that group.
Yeah, based on individual talent, I think they've got more depth. Luka Modric is a great player. When he was at Tottenham and again at Real Madrid, he's been phenomenal this season. And Mandzukic, their striker as well, plays for Bayern Munich. He's been prolific for them as well. So just based on individual talent.
Orlic as well. Yeah.
And I can't think now for the life of me. Their winger.
And Rakitic.
Rakitic is the centre mid. Yeah, he's been good in the Spanish league.
Yeah,
their winger was quite good.
What's he started? Is it
No, you're asking.
I can name the teams if you want, because I'm not sure what positions they were. But
I'll tell you. No, it's
Orlic's striker Kovacic, Jelevic.
No, it was Perisic. Perisic was.
Oh yeah, Perisic.
I thought on the break, he worked really hard bringing the ball forward and crossing the ball in, and he really impressed me that day. So
yeah, he impressed me.
So yeah, I think Croatia as well. I agree with you there. So moving on to the Saturday, so it was a big day for a lot of English fans. With the coverage of the World Cup has been weird for me because normally with England, they get such a big hype, and they think this is our year. We've got such great players in their prime. They always think they're going to do really well, and they never do. So this year they've gone for a different approach, and they've taken a lot of young players, and so they feel like, oh well, if we do well, it'll be a shock, but it's just sort of a tester. Well, which is, I don't know, it's a weird way of going about it, because I think the players play with less pressure and expectation, but at the same time, I think thinking you're going to win it mentally might give you a little bit of an edge, a bit more swagger.
Yeah, but I think the problem over the past years, where they've been going to the World Cup saying, "Oh yeah, we've got a real chance of winning it," and then they completely flop. I think it's right that they've brought the expectations back down, because I can't see England winning the World Cup, to be honest. But they've got a tidy group of players with them, and hopefully they'll get some good results. They'll get quite far, and that they'll go back to their respective clubs, and they'll blossom and they'll flourish, and then hopefully they'll be in a position where they can challenge for a major trophy on the international stage in a few years.
Yeah, I think the team they've taken, like a lot of people have said, it's a nice mix of youth and experience, and you've got some like Rooney is sort of in his prime now, isn't he? In the 28, 29, I think he is. So they've got some young, some 30 pluses, and then also the late 20s. So it's a very good mix. But then I don't blame Hodgson for taking some of the younger players like Sterling and Ross Barkley being phenomenal this season and completely justified going there. But just the two centre backs, Cahill, and Cahill's okay, but I mean Jagielka, you think, is there really no one better than Jagielka? He plays for, no disrespect to Everton, but he plays for Everton and he's getting on a bit. You think there'd be someone better in that position in the whole of England?
You would, yeah. It's a bizarre selection, I think, by Hodgson, but he played all right, I thought, against Italy. So maybe Hodgson sees something in him that we don't see in him. I don't know. And perhaps he's looking for that more established defensive group to have a solid foundation then for the rest of the team to build on and attack.
Yeah,
because in that Italy game they played some pretty impressive attacking play, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, it's maybe because he does play for Everton and Roberto Martinez, and he's got that passing style, so he wants a ball playing centre back, which is understandable. But I think it's mainly because they haven't got Ferdinand anymore, they haven't got Terry, these go-to centre backs that England have had for so long. And really, you think about it, and there aren't really that many top centre backs in England. You've got Phil Jones and Chris Smalling for United, but they've had pretty bad seasons, and when he's played them in friendlies, they've not been impressive either. So I think it's more to do with that. There is no one better, but that doesn't really say a lot for Jagielka, because I don't know. In my opinion, he's not that great. I don't think. I think that's the weakness in the England team, is probably the centre backs.
Yeah, I think so, because despite them having a fair bit of experience at the back, it should technically be quite a strong defence. The Italy team, when they attacked, they just cut England apart, didn't they?
Yeah, when you play these sort of older centre backs, you do miss the pace. So I think Balotelli's a good striker, but he's not the most gifted with pace wise. So it'll be interesting to see when they come against a team that's is just full of pace with a different style, and see if England can really cope with that.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be interesting to see them up against Suarez if he plays against them.
Yeah, he's terrorised many English centre-back pairings this season, so that will be interesting, yeah. And is that Thursday? Yeah, Thursday at 8 o'clock, England and Uruguay. So yeah, looking forward to that, and I'm very thankful there's not the 11 o'clock kickoff, because they are a nightmare.
They're awful. I was sort of drifting off towards the end of the England-Italy game. But what did you think of the game itself?
I watched the whole game, and I thought there's some English fans in work who said that England deserved the draw, which you could argue, but I think Italy played very well. England were a bit unlucky. They came close a good few times. The Sterling shot from distance I thought was in. at first
Yeah.
glance. The way the net rippled, you thought it was in. Go on.
I thought it was in. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
I thought, what a start. But I'm supporting Italy for the World Cup, as you probably know.
Yeah.
So I was delighted when it turned out it didn't go in. But despite supporting Italy, I do hope that England do really well, because they've got some exciting young players, and I just want them to get a bit of confidence and then establish and not be full of promise at an early stage and then just flop later on and just go nowhere. So I was really pleased with the way that England did attack, as much as it concerned me for Italy's sake. But then Italy just seemed to sit calmly and let them attack, and England didn't take their chances at all well. And then Italy just turned on the attack, and they just absolutely kept through England, and they deservedly won, I thought.
Yeah.
Pirlo was absolutely magical as usual. So some of his passes are just astounding, and then that free kick which hit the crossbar was it was just such a shame that didn't go in, because it was such a good shot, wasn't it, on the curve on it.
Yeah, and his awareness, like his when he let the ball run on the edge of the box, he just knew where the players around him were. It was brilliant.
Yeah, when he let it through to Marquisio, and he was a great shot.
Yeah, it was a good finish.
Great. Yeah, really good, and it was a good finish from Balotelli as well. So I don't think Italy are going to have a problem
scoring goals like they have in the past.
Goals. No, not at all. They've got some really good attacking players, I think, and I like De Rossi, and Marquisio as well. He's great, and then they've got really good defence with Chiellini, etc. And I was really impressed with their goalkeeper. So I was a bit disappointed that Buffon was out, because Buffon's one of my favourite players ever. But I don't know how you say his name. Is it Sirigu? He was top draw, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, he's the Paris Saint-Germain first choice keeper, so he's got some pedigree. So they've got a good selection of keepers to choose from, and worthy understudy to Buffon, I think. And playing for Paris Saint-Germain as their number one keeper, he's obviously going to have some quality. And Buffon, big boots to fill. You think that this might be his last major tournament. He's getting on now. How old is he? He must be late 30s by now.
Yeah, late 30s.
So he might make the Euros maybe, but I think this is his last World Cup. So I think he'll be gutted that he missed that first game, unless hope it's not a long-term injury.
Yeah, and this is Pirlo's last international tournament as well, which is quite sad to see. But he's 35, so you can't blame him. He's got another 2-year contract, which he's just signed at Juventus. So I guess we'll have to look forward to watching him play for Juventus a bit more. It's a shame that we won't see him again on the international stage. Yeah,
he's very gifted, and it will be sad when he retires. But I thought it was interesting what Hodgson said in an interview at the end of the game, where he said that although England lost, it was probably their best performance as a team, which I found actually worrying, because you think if your team has performed to the best of their ability so far, not to say they've reached their peak, but their best so far, and they still lost, that's not a very good reflection on the performance.
No, it's a funny sort of small-minded sort of viewpoint, really, isn't it? I suppose you could argue that England were up against a really good team in Italy, and that it's a sign of their development that they pushed Italy quite close. Or you could say that England really need to have more ambition than that, and they should be expecting to win these games. But then again, I think that England have expected too much in the past, and they've fallen on their sword in expecting so much in the past. So I think perhaps it's good that he's playing it down at the moment, and he's trying to build up confidence slowly, and not raise the expectations too much.
Yeah, I think though, the expectation is justified when you've got, the English league is arguably the top league in the world, and then the national team doesn't do very well in tournaments. The amount of English players in the Premier League is dropping every season, and that's quite worrying. But there's still a great wealth of quality in the England squad, and you do expect them, if not to beat Italy, then at least get the draw. Because I mean, the first game of the tournament is, if you win it, you set the precedence for the rest of the games. Now, although Hodgson would try and lift spirits by saying that was a really good performance, I don't know. I don't see them gaining any confidence from that game, because how can you gain confidence from a game you've lost? And they scored one goal, which was a good goal from Rooney, but apart from that, they didn't make a whole lot of chances.
No, I think it was worrying as well that the chances that they did make, which they could have easily scored, that they didn't. They just messed up every chance that they had, and that should be concerning, considering that they've got Sturridge playing, who, in my opinion, is a really good striker. But thinking about it, if we were able to take any of the England players and put them into the Italy starting lineup, would you take any of them?
It's a tough question. You'd like to say Rooney is England's best player, but he didn't play as the best player, and he hasn't been on form this whole season really. So maybe Sturridge would get in as a different option to Balotelli, who's more of a strong physical striker with a good heading ability instead of the one that runs the channels. So maybe Sturridge, but yeah, apart from that, Sterling's young, so he's okay. But I think Italy, instead of going for like pure youth and enthusiasm, have gone for established players who know the system, who know the passing game, and it's a tough one. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say Rooney, to be honest. He's been pretty disappointing last season, and a pretty abject performance from him on the Saturday. Sturridge, like you say, I think he's probably the best shout, because he's a good finisher usually, and he could possibly give Balotelli a run for his money. I do like Immobile as well, although he didn't really have a chance to show much when he came on. And I don't know. I'm tempted to say Gerrard, but he wouldn't. There's no way he'd push Pirlo out.
Or De Rossi.
But if Pirlo wasn't playing, then I'd say Gerrard.
So it was interesting that Rooney played on the wide left and Sterling played in the centre behind the striker, because you've got Sterling, who's a natural winger, and then Rooney, who plays behind the striker, and you switch positions. So Hodgson argued that it was for defensive shape and for Rooney's energy tracking back. But they lost a lot of Rooney's attacking ability then, didn't they?
Yeah, I don't understand that at all. Like if you've got a striker, you don't play him in goal, do you? So what's the point in playing Rooney in a position which isn't his position? If you've got players who are really good in their position, play them in their position. Otherwise, it's a waste of time them being there, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the problem for Rooney, because he's in an awkward situation now where, of course, he wants to represent his country. But, if he keeps on playing in the left midfield position and everyone says that Rooney had a bad performance, what do you expect? You can't play a striker in a defensive wing position.
No, it's baffling, really. I mean, all very well keeping their defensive shape, but surely they can keep their defensive shape with Rooney in his preferred position. And I think Sterling would rather be on the wing, to be honest, rather than behind in the hole. Because he's got plenty of pace, he's got plenty of skills to get past the players, and I think he'd have been quite tricky down the left wing.
Yeah, and he's a young player, so he will have the energy to track back. If you say, and you keep someone like Leighton Baines or Steven Gerrard talking to him through the whole game, telling him to track back, he'll do a better job with Rooney because he has got more pace as well and energy. So I just didn't understand it in any way. And although Sterling had a good game, if you're going to play Sterling in that position, then you're better off playing an actual winger in the wing position instead of Rooney, and perhaps even dropping him.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there's a lot of politics involved that everyone thinks Rooney must play because Rooney's their best player.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he is anymore, to be honest. I'd say Sturridge is the best player now.
Yeah. Well, I was either Phil Neville or Gary Neville. Perhaps Gary Neville, who said that Rooney was past his peak, which wouldn't surprise me because when you've got these players who are really good when they're young, like 18-year-old, and they burst onto the scene, a lot of the time, not taking anything away from them with their talent, but a lot of the time it's because they developed early at the earlier age. and so they've got the sort of physical presence of someone older than them. Barkley's the same. Although he looks young, he's physically, well built, and the same was for Rooney when he was 18. He looked a lot younger. Same with Giggs. He had lots of chest hair, and you might sound like a bit of a tangent now, but I think when you start younger, you will peak earlier.
Yeah.
So it makes perfect sense to me to think that Rooney would peak earlier than your average player, because he did burst onto the scene so young, and he's had a hard. He was renowned for sort of his energy when he was young, wasn't he, in his goal scoring threat, and that's going to take his toll on the muscles and everything.
Yeah, I'd say he might have peaked about 2 years ago, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think that was the best I've seen him playing, and he hasn't really reproduced that kind of form.
Yeah, I think his best season was, it might have been after Ronaldo left, where he scored 20 something goals on his own, and he really carried United with the goals. They didn't have anyone else at that time, and I think that's when he peaked. Really, he was full of energy that season, scored some incredible goals. I think it was the season he scored the overhead kick against Man City. I think I remember it being that season. And since then, I don't know whether he's lost his desire or his actual physical, that his body just won't carry him like he used to. But yeah, he's not the player he used to be.
No, I think it's a bit of both, really. But he just doesn't seem to have the energy that he used to have. He runs around at the start of the game quite a lot too, and then by the end of the 60th minute, he looks absolutely knackered.
Yeah, but if I was Hodgson, I'd be tempted to drop him, and then maybe play him from the start, and then switch her about 60 minutes, take Rooney off, just to show the two sides of the game, with and without Rooney, and to then show the critics whether the England team is better, and that would just prove the point then, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
But you're not going to find out until you do drop Rooney and play someone better in the position if you're going to play him on the wing.
No, exactly. And the other game that day was Uruguay against Costa Rica. Now that was a bit of a surprise, I thought.
Yeah.
Did you watch the game?
No, I didn't catch that, I'm afraid. Was that the late kickoff, or was it the earlier one?
No,
that was the earlier one.
I think that was the earlier one, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, Uruguay went ahead early with a penalty from Cavani, and he put that away well, and you think, okay, here we go. Uruguay were the favourites in this match, had a good chance of getting out of the group as well, so no surprise from there. And then Costa Rica came out of nowhere. 2 goals in a matter of 3 minutes, and then one in the 84th. And they could be. I don't think they'll get out of the group. I think it's a really tough group to get out of. But I don't think they're a walkover anymore. I don't think when England eventually play them that they won't take them seriously.
No, I think they're obviously a very dangerous team. They can score 3 goals like that, and I think you've got to. All the other teams have got to be weary of that. I wonder if Uruguay were missing Suarez a huge amount, and whether that contributed to it. Because Uruguay have got some really good players. That's why it was such a surprise to me. Cavani and Hernandez, Rodriguez, they've got Ramirez as well. Not bad players. I was just so surprised to see that result. I was just expecting the Uruguay to win, and now, of course, with Uruguay losing, it's made it a bit more interesting in group. What group is it? Is it Group D?
It's Group D, yeah.
Yeah, Group D. So that makes the game on Thursday more interesting, doesn't it?
Yeah, it'd be very interesting, and it'd be interesting to see when Suarez comes back. If they are a different beast with him up front. Cavani, there's no doubt he's got quality up front, playing for PSG, and I've always rated him highly. I think he's really good. But take some of the goal scoring burden off him. And although they've got Diego Forlan, he's about 34 now, I think, so he's past his prime, and so you can see him perhaps even being dropped, and it'll be. Just Aguero, no, sorry, not Aguero, sorry, Suarez and Cavani up front. And it'd be interesting to see how the England defence cope with them too.
Yeah, indeed. The other game, I think it was the late game. That was it. Colombia 3, Greece 0. Not a huge surprise again.
No, Colombia are a good team.
The thing which strikes me about this match, if you think about this in the context of the whole World Cup altogether, is Colombia 3, Greece 0. That's another 3 goals which has been scored in the World Cup, and up till Germany and Portugal game today, I think 25 goals have been scored in the World Cup so far, which is amazing, really, isn't it?
It's been a really entertaining World Cup so far. Yeah,
it has, hasn't it? The South African World Cup, despite all the pageantry and all the excitement about all the atmosphere and all that malarkey, it was quite disappointing, wasn't it? It was quite boring football. Not
very
a huge amount of goals. Very cagey, yeah. And those Vuvuzelas didn't really help either, did they? But
everyone was so cautious not to lose. No one was actually trying to win.
No, exactly. But this World Cup, everyone seems to be going all out to hell with the consequences, and as a result, we're all enjoying it very much.
Yeah, I don't think there's actually been a draw yet, which is fantastic, really, because although you don't mind a 4-4 draw, there's been no 0-0 draws, which is very good, because the last thing you want to do is stay up till 11 o'clock in the night, watch a game for 2 hours, and there's not been a goal scored.
No, exactly, and they've been really good quality goals as well.
Yeah. Every team has, apart from maybe Greece and Honduras, who have been beaten quite spectacularly, you wouldn't say that any team hasn't played very well and given a good account of themselves.
No, there doesn't seem to have been any sort of parking the bus. Everyone seems to be happy to just attack and may the best attackers win, really.
Yeah.
What other games were there? There was Argentina and Bosnia.
That was the late kickoff on Sunday, wasn't it?
Yeah, what time was that?
I think that was the 11 o'clock. So Argentina, second favourites to win behind Brazil. High expectations on Messi as well, who's he's had a good season, hampered by injury, but again he's got a lot of goals and has been really good again for Barcelona. So not only have they got Aguero, though, just like the last World Cup, they got such a wealth of attacking talent, and the problem was last time Diego Maradona didn't care for the defensive side of the game, and he left behind a lot of the older, more experienced players and just sort of told his attacking team players to go and play. But of course, that's not how football works. You just can't put 11 strikers and a goalie out on the field. You've got to have the defensive side and the players who can build from the back. So I'm not quite sure who the boss is this year, but he's gone for more solid players. He's got a good shape to the team as well, and it's getting the best out of Aguero, Messi, Di Maria. These are fantastic players.
Yeah, and Mascherano, of course, he's a good rock in midfield, isn't he?
Yeah.
And he provides then freedom then for those attacking players to really express themselves on the field. And Messi played well. I didn't see the game, but I've heard that he played really well. So it's exciting to see what more he's got to come in the World Cup.
Yeah, I think him and Ronaldo, there was a lot of expectation on the last World Cup as well. A lot of people thinking that they were going to be the top goal scorers, but for some reason they just couldn't repeat their club form on the international stage. But so far Messi's done well, so it'd be interesting to see how they do, and whether as I keep saying, whether the fact that the tournament is in South America, that would be a massive help to the South American players.
Yeah, well, I think it's got to be slightly because they're used to the humidity more than the European players, who are more used to a drier heat. But I think every team so far has stepped up and given a good account of themselves. Then France, of course, they played Honduras, and was it the last World Cup where there was all of that fuss in the French camp and they all sort of walked out?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, and was it Anelka who caused a stir for some reason?
Yeah, and Patrice Evra wasn't far away either.
Yeah. Well, apparently that's the reason he didn't take Nasri, because Nasri's had a really good season for Man City, and they've won the title again. But yeah, he didn't take him because apparently he causes a bit of disruption in the camp. So they've won 3-0 against Honduras, quite a comprehensive win. And if they do carry on playing this way, you can say he's made the right decision.
Yeah, I saw bits of the match, and they didn't seem to miss Nasri. They've got some great players with Benzema and Valbuena and Pogba, of course. But you can't write off on Honduras either, because they've got some pretty good players: Garrido, Figueroa, Palacios, Espinosa. So France can be pretty pleased, I think, with that result.
I think the red card affected the game, though, didn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It was a shame to see a red card. The cards seem to be flying about quite willy-nilly during this World Cup as well, haven't they?
Yeah, I think when you've got the attacking and counter-attacking style of what a lot of teams have been having, it's been very attacking games. There are going to be a lot of bad challenges, and I think most of the cards have been fair. I don't think there's been any bad decisions, which is also good to see.
Yeah, the only bad decision, I think, was that penalty in the opening game for Brazil against Croatia.
Yeah.
But
as much as you hate to say it, I think sometimes referees do play up to the occasion.
Yeah, I think they do. I think it's they're humans after all. You can't really expect them to be sort of completely on the ball all the time, and that's what makes football great in a way, is that unpredictable things can happen. I don't know if you've seen. I think is it the Nike advert?
Yeah, with the clones.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about the possibility that yeah, exactly. That things won't always go your way, whether you like it or not. And that's why we love football, really, isn't it? As much as we like to moan about it.
Yeah, it's not nice when the unpredictability goes against you, but that's part of the game. The decision that goes against you, probably a decision will go your way, so it all works out in the end.
Yeah, exactly. The other game in that group was Switzerland against Ecuador, which finished 2-1.
Yeah.
I didn't see that game. Did you see that?
No, I didn't catch that, but I've seen the goals, and Switzerland are impressive. You can't write them off in Group E. A tough group with France. I think, France will probably walk away with that, but as far as Honduras, Ecuador, and Switzerland, I think it's up for grabs. Switzerland, of course, the only other winners in that group, so they level in points with France, so they're in a good position now. But Ecuador and Honduras, these South American teams, full of energy. When Ecuador played England in the friendly, I thought they were full of energy, and if they can exploit the opponent's slow defence, there's definitely some goals in there.
Yeah, I think France are going to go through top of their group. But as for the other team, it's anyone's guess, really, isn't it? I'd say probably Switzerland, but Ecuador and Honduras will push them all the way.
Yeah, I don't think although Honduras conceded 3, I don't think they are a walkover. I think the red card did affect the game, and it was fairly early on as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then on Sunday, the really early kickoff. I can't remember what time it was, but it was some ridiculous time, wasn't it? It was Ivory Coast against Japan, and that finished 2-1. The scorers for the Ivory Coast were Wilfred Boney and Gervinho, and what's his name? Suzuki Honda scored for Japan. It was great as a Swansea fan to see Boney getting on the score sheet, showing what he's all about. And again, of course, it's worrying because teams are going to start noticing him even more, and it'd be harder for Swansea to keep hold of him. But then I suppose his price is going up all the time.
Yeah.
So I suppose it's a win-win situation really for Swansea, isn't it? Because if he stays, he's scoring goals. If he goes, we're going to get a lot of money for it.
Yeah, I think it is tough. You want him to do well as a player, and if he does stay, the more goals he scores, the better, because it'll just boost his confidence. But at the same time, you don't want him to score too many. But if he is going to go, you do want him to score many because his price will go up, and the interest in him, you get more clubs interested, and you might start bidding more. So yeah. It is tough. You do want him to do well, but fingers crossed he does stay because he's a fantastic talent.
Yeah, absolutely. on the Ivory Coast, I thought played pretty well. And Wilfred Boney was really key in that. He was involved in quite a lot of what went on with their play, and he was close to the second goal, which was only 2 minutes later by Jovino as well. So I think he's going to have a good World Cup. Japan started really positively though, didn't they?
Yeah, they've you wouldn't really associate them with a good passing or physical game, but technically I think they're fantastic. The way they strike the ball, the technique is brilliant.
Yeah, of course. Honda plays for AC Milan, so he's got a good pedigree.
Yeah, and again, Kagawa plays for Man United, so they've got a few big names, some poster boys.
Yeah, absolutely. I reckon I can see the Ivory Coast possibly. I can see them getting through their group. Can you?
Yeah, you think Colombia would probably end up winning it, but Greece, Japan, Ivory Coast, just the top talents. The Ivory Coast have got the individual. Yaya Toure, fantastic for City this season, and Boney scoring the goals, and Drogba's a veteran, and knows where the back of the net is. So yeah, I go for Ivory Coast there.
Yeah, absolutely. And now moving on today, which is Monday, the 16th, and Germany have just finished playing against Portugal, and it finished 4-0. That's another stonking result, isn't it?
Yeah, the German side going from strength to strength. The last World Cup you had, Ozil, Khedira, you had these young players who were coming through and played really well and attracted the interest of Real Madrid and some other bigger teams with some of the other players as well. And Ronaldo's been fantastic, and you think that he's probably in his prime now, and everyone's interested to see if he could take his club form to the international level. And I don't know, it's something weird with the Portuguese team, whether they're naive, whether they haven't got the defensive structure to build an attack, similar to we were speaking about the Argentinian style in the last World Cup. But yeah, really impressed with Germany. They're just, I think they've, even though they might be sort of 4th or 5th outsiders to win, I think they've got a good chance to win the tournament.
Yeah, Germany is such a disciplined side, and everything looks pretty easy for them, doesn't it? It's all quite slick as they go through the motions playing, and they are really, I think they're a really formidable team to come up against. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them in the mix towards the end of the tournament.
No, I think they've probably got the best depth in their squad, even better than the Spain team right now. When you think of the Spain team, yes, they've got a lot of good players, but you've got players in there like Torres and Mata who, to be honest, haven't had the best of seasons. Whereas the German team, the team are full of winners.
If you look at their bench, they've got Schweinsteiger, they've got Schürrle, they've got Podolski, they've got Klose, Draxler. They've got some brilliant players on that bench.
Yeah, I'd probably call them the most balanced team in the World Cup. They've got, with including the entire squad, you've got pace, you've got power, you've got the players that can shoot, and you've also got youth, experience. It's a perfect mix, and I think they could go far.
Yeah, definitely. And now, as we're speaking, Iran are playing Nigeria. It's currently 0-0. So I guess we'll do another update at some stage on the next sort of games.
Yeah, if there's any goals, but I didn't really want to watch that game, Iran-Nigeria. It's sort of, no disrespect to either team, but it's one of the least exciting fixtures, wasn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't really whet the appetite for it, does it? But no. I'm sure it's quite an entertaining game, and hopefully there'll be another few goals in that, because we don't want to nil at this stage yet, do we? Seeing as we've had such a good start to things. No. And then later on today we've got Ghana against the USA. The USA, I don't know where I stand on them, to be honest. I think the USA will win it.
Win the group or the game?
No, the game.
All right. It's a tough one. Jürgen Klinsmann, I think, is the
yeah, that's right.
Is the USA coach. and he left Landon Donovan behind. He didn't take him, and arguably Donovan is the USA's best player. He's the poster boy of American football. I shouldn't call it American football. I should call it soccer, I suppose. MLS soccer. He is the poster boy. And it was a strange decision. I think, similar to the Nasri situation, he felt like he was a bad influence on the squad. And, they've got a few names, Dempsey, Altidore, plays in the Premier League. But Ghana, I've also got, they've got some great team players in, Kevin Prince Boateng and Asamoah Gyan. I think it'll be one of the more interesting games, hopefully. Anyway, as long as they both don't play very defensively and actually, try and win it, I think it'll be a good game.
Yeah, and that throws open another question about their group. Then Germany definitely, I think, to go through. But then they've got Ghana, USA, or Portugal. Who's going to go in? I think Portugal probably will if they pick up their game. Well, they should go through anyway. But if they don't, I reckon the USA could do it.
Yeah, I think before today's game, you'd put your money on Germany, Portugal to progress. They've called it the group of death. I think there was one more that was quite tough. I think it might have been England's group that they called the group of death as well. But
yeah,
it's not so much a group of death. There's just some quality teams in there. There's no real walkover. But at the same time, Portugal losing by so many goals. I think unless there's a draw today between Ghana and the USA, I think it could be anyone. I think Portugal would be very happy if it was a draw today.
Yeah, definitely. And then moving on now, who would you predict to win the World Cup?
The World Cup. So, my money would have been on Spain, even though everyone says. Well, no, I take that back. Actually, my money would have been on Brazil. I think they're already a super team, and the fact they're playing at home in front of their home fans will probably take their game to a next level. I just hope that they don't sort of get too hot-headed and play with too much sort of energy and ferocity and actually end up making a silly mistake and, someone could get sent off. And, you don't want someone to be the scapegoat for if they don't do well. You don't want, a centre-back to be sent off stupidly and then they get knocked out and then you've got all of Brazil on his back because they think this was their year. You don't want that to happen, to a player. That shouldn't happen to an individual. He would feel awful. So I hope they do well, but I don't think they will win. I think they'll come undone against perhaps Germany or Spain. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think Brazil have quite got the discipline to see them go all the way. I reckon that Germany are going to be there at the end. I'm hoping Italy are going to be there, seeing as I'm supporting them. And I think they've got a good chance of going quite far. But I don't quite see them getting to the final. Maybe the semi-finals. But I reckon Germany.
Germany to win?
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see when Italy play one of these South American teams, with a high work rate and chase them down. Because, when you've got a team that keeps hold of the possession like Spain do and like Italy have now adopted as well, there's two ways of going about it. You either sit back, let them pass the ball around, and then only try and tackle them when they're in the last third. Say you set up a zone that you press them, or you press them all over the pitch and try and force them into a mistake. So it takes a certain level of physicality from the team, depending on how fit your players are, whether you can actually do that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I just feel like Italy they've got a lot of quality players who are reaching their kind of peak ages now, and it's more of a wild card. Me throwing Italy in there, to be honest, seeing as I'm supporting them. But it'd be nice to see them do well. Can't see them going all the way, but hopefully I'll be proved wrong. But I reckon Germany.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I just don't want Argentina to do well.
No,
it's a strange one. I like the underdog. I don't like the favourite to win. It seems a bit less exciting then, doesn't it? If you feel like it was all what's the word for it? Sort of written in the stars
Predestined.
already. Yeah,
Yeah.
that the favourite would win. Hoping that the fact that it is in Brazil isn't too much of a factor. I prefer a European team to win it, just because that this is our continent.
Yeah. But I think Brazil will do well, but I don't think they've got quite enough in the tank to get them all the way.
No, I think they'll definitely make it out of the group, and I think the World Cup really kicks off when you get to the knockout stages, because you actually get some quality teams playing against each other.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Brazil in the final, but if they're against Germany, I just don't see them winning that.
Yeah, a lot of people have predicted the Argentina-Brazil final. I think it'll be an interesting final. I think it'll be very entertaining, those two teams playing each other. But personally, I'll be happy with any European team. I like a lot of the France players. I like a lot of the Portuguese players, the England players, Italy players. So yeah, I'd like them to do well, but I do think Brazil will win it probably.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely going to be an entertaining World Cup.
Yeah, I made a bet with someone in work. I sort of looked for a reason to support England, because I normally don't support England, because the England fans that I know, they get so hyped usually for these major tournaments that it's just funny to see them crash and burn so badly. And then normally you get one player who's the scapegoat, whether it's Rooney or Beckham for doing something wrong. So
Yeah.
I needed a reason to support them. So I said to someone in work that England would progress further than Argentina, and I bet £10 on it. Little did I know that if I'd gone to the bookies to make that bet, I would have had odds of 6-1, but instead I'm getting 1-1. But so yeah, I've got a reason to support England now.
Yeah, well, I never thought I'd hear you say that.
But I did, although I had money on them, I did support Italy when they played England, because I don't know, I've got a soft spot for Italy, and especially Pirlo.
Yeah, I love Pirlo, and as is his last tournament, I want him to see him doing well, and wouldn't it be great if he could add another World Cup medal to his cabinet?
Yeah, it would be brilliant. So yeah, looking forward to it. So far, it's been a really entertaining World Cup, and I just hope it carries on this way.
Yeah, definitely.
So we'll wrap it up there, and hopefully we'll be able to do another episode of Footy Talk before the tournament ends. And if not, we'll definitely do one when the tournament has ended, and just recap everything that's happened and our thoughts. So thanks once again, Ieu, for joining us.
No problem. Thanks very much.
No problem. And thanks everyone for tuning in. You can follow us on Twitter at Downtime Guys. We're also on Facebook at Downtime Guys. We've got some other videos. We've got videos about video games. We've got videos on YouTube about films. We're sort of looking to branch out into other aspects. So you can also catch Ieu's YouTube channel. He's got his individual channel. That's Ieu's with a Z. IEUZ123, and you've got a few videos up there as well. So yeah, thanks once again, guys, and we'll see you next time.